Neil Young's music is canceled from Spotify. He got so upset at Spotify and caused such a stir that he managed to get his own music removed from the platform. The fight began over the musician's disagreement with statements from Joe Rogan about coronavirus and vaccines. Young demanded that Spotify choose between him and Rogan, saying they could have Rogan or Young, not both. Spotify appeared to agree, and they quickly removed all of Neil Young's music. However, they also plan to add a disclaimer to Joe Rogan's show when he talks about COVID or other health topics. Joe Rogan defended himself against the accusations by pointing out how quickly banned statements about COVID have become acceptable.
The podcast has been accused of spreading dangerous misinformation, specifically about 2 episodes, a little bit about some other ones, but specifically about 2. One with Dr. Peter McCullough and one with Dr. Robert Malone. Dr. Peter McCullough is a cardiologist, and he is the most published physician in his field in history. Dr. Robert Malone owns 9 patents on the creation of mRNA vaccine technology and is at least partially responsible for the creation of the technology that led to mRNA vaccines. Both these people are very highly credentialed, and they have an opinion that's different from the mainstream narrative. I wanted to hear what their opinion is. I had them on, and because of that, those episodes in particular were labeled as being dangerous misinformation in them. The problem I have with the term misinformation, especially today, is that many of the things that we thought of as misinformation just a short while ago are now accepted as fact. Like, for instance, 8 months ago, if you said, if you get vaccinated, you can still catch COVID and you can still spread COVID, you would be removed from social media. They would ban you from certain platforms. Now, that's accepted as fact. If you said, I don't think cloth masks work, you would be banned from social media. Now, that's openly and repeatedly stated on CNN. If you said, I think it's possible that COVID-19 came from a lab, you'd be banned from many social media platforms. Now, that's on the cover of Newsweek. All of those theories that at one point in time were banned were openly discussed by those 2 men that I had on my podcast that have been accused of dangerous misinformation.
So how did this all start? Before Neil Young's public statements, another group had already been calling on Spotify to cancel Rogan's show over his open discussions with doctors and researchers about COVID data, treatment, and vaccines. The main reason why these groups have called for Spotify to cancel Joe Rogan is because they know that the reach of his show is enormous. Beyond his blockbuster career in sports announcing, comedy, and reality television, he hosts the most popular and influential podcast on the planet. Right now, every one of his episodes reportedly have at least 11 million listeners. Having hosted pretty much everyone under the sun and across the political spectrum, from Jack Dorsey and Elon Musk to Bernie Sanders and Alex Jones, the show has earned itself a reputation as a place for listeners to hear new and interesting ideas from a wide variety of worldviews. So naturally, with COVID-19 dominating the conversation for 2 years now, Rogan welcomed Dr. Robert Malone onto his show. Malone took on world governments, pharmaceutical companies, and mainstream media, accusing them of using the COVID crisis to fearmonger and enhance their own power. In the aftermath, these institutions slammed Rogan and Malone with charges of misinformation. YouTube took down the episode, Malone was banned from Twitter, and a group of 270 medical professionals, most of whom aren't actually doctors, sent a letter to Spotify urging the removal of the conversation. Joining his voice with that self-righteous, trust the science throng was none other than the man, the myth, the legend, Neil Young. Rockin' in the Free World is one of his most famous songs, but recently, he has seemed more interested in restricting free speech. Young wrote an open letter to Spotify explaining that he would remove his music from the platform if they did not remove the Rogan and Malone interview. Unsurprisingly, Spotify sided with Rogan and scrapped all of Young's music. Young needs to learn that Spotify cares more about the #1 podcaster than the 763rd artist.